Dawn Command, fall in for the conclusion of Mission 001, False Flames, on tonight's episode of Operation Emberfall. I see Abria is carrying on the tradition of Travis Willingham of saying funny things before we go live. And such is my life. This is what happens when you get such an amazing cast of experienced role players to play with you. We're waiting on the Bitter Phoenix Smoke, aka Ravity Dumza. She'll be joining us probably in the next 6 to 7 minutes. And until then, I want to do a brief recap of where we last left our wing. Our wing was dispatched to the Mourning View Erie along the summer shore near sunset, where a recent foothold of Dawn Command presence has been established. They proceeded on foot to an abandoned Erie known as Loch Myung-ko, where they encountered an empty chamber but with a improvised device sending out false candle signals back to the Grand Erie Empire. After deducing that this man-made device was a lure to trap them in the building and to distract them from other endeavors, and some quick deductive work by our devoted Phoenix Rama, they were able to dispatch a Dread Knight who was draining a Phoenix attendant of fear. They proceeded back on foot to the Mourning View Erie, where they encountered the Harvester of Fear, an ancient fallen entity who was kidnapped the local staff of the Mourning View Erie, was harvesting their fear into a crystal sphere that stood atop the Tree of Pain. After administering justice to the Harvester of Fear and his minion, they had a brief moment to breathe and to celebrate before noticing that the sphere began to crack. And that's where we're going to start. You know that this sphere, roughly the size, just a little bit bigger than a basketball, is swirling with thin, black, viscous, solidified fear. After the first crack, you notice a vibration, and you know that the fear inside of it is starting to become agitated. The mortals, the guardians and adepts of the Mourning View Erie who have been bound to the tree are starting to stir, enough of them so much that they're able to loose their own bonds as they groggily make their senses around them. But all of your eyes are on this sphere.
Do we have a sense of, like, does it feel like the tether between the sphere and the people on the tree has been severed? Or is there some sort of connection? I want to try to figure that out.
Do you have any trait cards in your hand?
I do not. No, I have Warlock.
Discard Warlock.
Okay.
So, you immediately notice that when they were bound, the fear that was being drained of them, essentially as they were being terrified and intimidated by the Harvester, that was flowing from them and into the sphere, that process has stopped. There's no more fear coming out of them, let alone going up into the sphere. It's not gaining or swelling in size. It just seems agitated. And the crack along the side of the sphere happened seemingly separate of that. Okay. And with that, it grows just a little bit more.
I'm afraid of what happens if that breaks, where all of the fear and all of that energy goes. This is beyond my ken. Yeah.
Can we get them all down and out before it breaks? Well, I'm really fast, so I can try.
So
I'd like to zoom around and take down as many people as I can.
Grace check.
All right. Nice. Okay. I have a 4.
Okay.
2, so it's 6 total.
And you get to draw a card because of 2.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Perfect. Blur of motion.
Hell yes.
Okay,
what?
So that is what in the game is unfortunately called a trump trait, which means in this particular situation, that card of itself solves the check. There are certain situations where certain named traits are that. If you're trying to outsmart somebody and you draw smartest person in the room, guess what? You've succeeded. If you are trying to make an inspiring speech and you have inspiring, guess what? That's an automatic success. So in this situation, blur of motion is an automatic success for that trait. You are definitely able to do it.
I just spend this card and then keep these two in my okay.
Correct. Yeah. Go ahead and
Yeah.
discard blur of motion, and then keep the
Alright.
rest in your hand. Draw back up because you're out of combat.
Okay.
You're able to do that really quickly. What everybody else sees is, golly, it's almost like a perpetual motion sculpture, in just the sense that it's just you're able to run with your feet on the surface of the tree, vertically, horizontally, upside down, so fast, and you're able to take your talon, your bladed fist-sized shuriken, and just literally just cut, snip, 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 and it's just you're just it's it's a blur of motion seeing how you're able to loose the bonds, but your progress up and down and around and upside down the tree, it feels almost like it was predetermined, like it was mechanical, almost like clockwork in a weird sense. It's quite the thing to see. You're able to get everybody free. A couple of them stumble. Rama and Smoke and Vale, you're there to like sort of assist them down. As this is happening, more cracks appear on the sphere. And the rate of cracks seems to be increasing. You're not like 10 seconds or 20 seconds out from detonation, but the rate of vibration and the rate of agitation of the fear inside is absolutely increasing. So you don't quite know how much time you have with this thing.
Okay. So I have healing as a talent, and I think it's specifically for healing mortals. Yeah,
It is. Yeah, it's for healing mortals. Yeah.
No, this is great. There's a big pile of people that were just on a tree that are all super hurt.
Sure.
And the thought I have here, and it's very stupid, so I'm sorry in advance. You can just say no.
No stupid ideas.
Is that like physically and emotionally healing them could have some sort of effect on stabilizing that like fear as it spins up. It's probably wrong, but I'm thinking of trying that.
I'll tell you what. Go ahead, and I'm going to let you do this check, and I won't count it against your overall time. Do this check to one person and
Okay.
see what you can come out with that. Okay.
Okay. So I'm using healing, and let's go.
That would be a grace check.
Perfect. All right. So,
but because you're using healing, it could be either. So,
nice. Yeah, it's basically the same. So I've got 2 4s and a 3 of grace. Nothing special. So that's 8 plus 3 is 11 plus 5 is 16.
Yeah. So one person, I'll say one of the guardians, had a lot of superficial cuts weirdly underneath his armor. Like his armor was not stripped of him. He had like full plate. He had a couple visible cuts from the scepter that the harvester had.
Yeah.
But what you're finding strange is like with full clothing on, like he's just sopped with blood in various spots underneath his armor. You're able to get that off, and you have your poultices and your bandages that you were given before, and you're able to get that done. And by doing that, you have absolutely helped that person overcome their fear. And that is going to have a benefit, which we'll talk about in just a second. But that doesn't seem to do anything to the sphere per se.
While she's like finishing up and like trying to stay as like serene and helpful and pleasant as possible, she just turns and snaps in the middle. That didn't do anything. Try something else. I mean, you're gonna be fine, and this is fine.
Okay. All right. Okay, that works. But yes, that absolutely, yeah, that happens. Like I said, we're going to talk about what that means in a little bit. But for right now, the sphere is the sphere, and it seems to still be progressing at the same rate.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm wondering.
Go ahead.
I turn to my compatriots and I say, we might want to think about containing the sphere so that if it does crack and release all this fear, it at least doesn't spread everywhere.
Okay.
So
I look around to see if there's anything a tarp or a thick, heavy curtain, or I don't know.
I grabbed my shawl from where it fell on the ground when I was fighting the dreadnought.
Okay.
And I said, this is all I have.
We could try.
Okay, get as many people out as possible, and I just like position myself beneath the sphere, trying to wrap the shawl around it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna grab one of the chain or some of the discarded chains out of Smoke's hand and kind of like throw them up to you to see if you can like bind it over the veil, like over the shawl, and just sort of keep it all contained.
And I'll be taking people out with the quickness.
Okay. So Vale,
Yes.
you gather these materials, and I'm gonna say. So I want to make sure I'm understanding your action. You're going to take these materials and then essentially wrap the sphere itself around it and try to like.
Yeah, since I've never seen these, I've seen these go into people, but not necessarily through matter. I'm hoping blocking them might be enough.
Got it. Okay. Okay, so you have like essentially a veil or
Yes.
some cloth material, and you're just going to drop it on there. Describe to me how you're going to do it.
The veil is up in the tree, right? I'm sorry, veil. The sphere is up in the tree.
Yeah.
So I'd be positioning myself behind it.
Got it. Okay.
Unless it's higher than me, and then I would have actually had to climb the tree.
Yeah, you'll have to climb the tree, but I'll go ahead and count that as a free action. I'm not going to make you fight for it. So you get up in there, and then you just drop it on top of the sphere?
Yeah, depending on how it's positioned, I might actually have to shimmy onto the branch and wrap it around the sphere and the branch it's on.
Got it. Okay. You're able to, again, no check for this. This is a pretty standard thing that a human could do, so a Phoenix could definitely do it. What I'll say is, as you don't physically touch the sphere, but you drop the cloth on top of it. And doing that, being in that proximity to the sphere, go ahead and make an intellect spread.
Okay, so I have 4 and 3, and then extensive training.
Okay. So do you have another card on top of your trait? Because it's a skill spread. It's 3 plus whatever trait you have on top of it.
I didn't. I went to draw because extensive training says draw. But I got a grace card of 3, and I have a skill that lets me turn any card into an intellect card.
Great. So what's your total point now with
7,
your
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, because plus 5 when it's used in a skill spread.
Yeah, and I'm going to give you an additional plus 5 because you have lore. So
26.
Hold on, can we get to 30?
Unchanged. The check is maxed in this case. It's a maxed check at this point. Okay. As your hands go near it, you know what is fear but a memory, right? So as your hand goes near it, you kind of, in a weird way, in a very quick moment, understand the intrinsic life cycle of this distilled fear that's been put into this ingot of essentially a crystal ball. And what you can tell, the reason why the crack is happening is because this sphere was sustained. The integrity of the sphere itself was sustained by the harvester. And now that the harvester is dead, remember pregame I said I had a burp? Now that the harvester is dead, it has become unstable. And you have about, if you had to put a number to it, probably 60 seconds before this thing detonates. Needless to say, cloth is not going to stop it. Neither would wood, neither would stone. Basically, all the 3 little pig materials.
It's taking out the building.
It's taking out the area.
Oh gosh.
You cannot evacuate anybody within a safe distance within the time that it does this. However, because the sphere was bonded to the harvester, and because the harvester is of the dusk, and phoenixes are essentially of the dusk, you could, in theory, bond it to yourself. So, Wing 023, you have two options. And because of the success of your skill, you have deduced them both in this moment, Vale. If you break the sphere yourself, it will detonate, but all of your sparks will drain into it, taking your life, but the damage will go with you into the crucible and not here. You'll come back as normal. Well, you'll come back at the same rate of. That said, it may leave a scar. But you'll come back the next dawn at Pyre as a rank 2 Phoenix. You will save the lives of everybody here. However, if you choose, you could attempt to bond with it in the same way that the Harvester did. Doing so would prevent it from cracking, and it would stabilize it long enough to get it back to Pyre, where your marshals could probably safely defuse it, study it, could provide some very actionable intelligence. But if you fail in that attempt, not only will you die, everybody in a quarter-mile radius will be killed.
Vale only came back to save innocent lives. She's dumping her sparks. And she's telling everybody to run just in case she's wrong.
All right, what does that look like?
So Vale gets this look of just sheer terror and horror over her face, and she kind of gasps, and she turns to Rama, and her face is deadly serious, like the polar opposite of the gentleness she had when they were diving into the portal. I can't think of the actual name for it. And she just says, "Run, everyone, far now." And as soon as everybody is out, she dumps all of her sparks into it, and she says, "I hope you're not mad, Ash."
Okay. Your hand raises, cracks into the surface along where the pre-existing crack was. And for a half second, it seems like it's exploding before it stops. And instead, it draws air and sound inside of it. And all of your spark, your flame, the presence of your flame dives into it, leaving your body in almost a Pompeii-like statue of pure ash, frozen for just a second. What does the look on your face look like in that final moment?
Oddly peaceful.
Your head is tilted up, maybe as a reflex for what seemed like an explosion, maybe looking to the sky, maybe poise and posture and taking pride in a moment of sacrifice, in a moment of duty, in a moment where knowing the secret allowed you to make such a choice. And as Crash and Smoke and Rama and all the adepts look upon this graceful figure frozen in still time with an empty crystal vessel, the ash starts to crumble into a slowly simmering pile of Phoenix ash. And we're going to decide what that means in just a second. But for those in the world of the living, what do you do?
So did we watch this happen, or were we out of the room?
So you were definitely in the room, Rama. Crash, you may have been out of the room. I'll leave that up to you.
I'll say that I was in the room and in between trips of taking people out.
Got it. And all is quiet.
I dropped to my knees in shock and kind of numbness. and just kind of stare at the ashes of where Vale was.
The ashes, she was positioned on the top branch of this tree. And as the light returns to the sky and starts to poke through the windows, with the harvester's presence over the land gone, when the blue skies and the sunshine pouring through the windows, and the ash slowly crumbles and breaks apart. It starts as like kind of chunks that, as they hit branches on the way down, they crack and cascade and create almost like a glittery snow as it floats down, not into a convenient pile, unfortunately, but into just an area. You will be able to collect her ashes and use them as a resource, but in that moment, it's distributed. Rama.
As Rama she instinctively walked back and is sort of standing under this like ash fall. And then she looks down at her, like holding back tears. She looks at the light coming out of her lantern, and it looks like it should be four distinct spots of light, one for each member of the wing. And then it just slowly, like the empty spot, the darkness, begins to slowly flicker back just a little bit as she's standing under Vale's ash. And I think that's the moment where she remembers that this is a cycle and that she's returned to the crucible, but that she'll return again. And I think that's the moment of peace that allows her to like kind of catch her shuddered breath and begin the slow process of gathering up Vale's ash.
As you do, the adept, or the guardian rather, who you had helped and aided, kneels down next to you, and he's a guardian. He's part of Dawn Command. He knows what this is. He's aiding you in your endeavor to collect the remains of your friend. And he leans over to you and says, "Thank you for what you did. I'm afraid everyone else, well, this will be with them for a long time." Go ahead and give me an intellect check.
Yeah. Let's see. All right, I've got a 4, 4, and a 3, but I've also got my cursed card. I don't know if I want to use. Yeah, you know what? Yeah. Okay, so an 11 to start with, and I'm gonna use cursed. And I think just standing in the remains of like another bad deal and bad actions from the fallen folk, and being reminded that like she is a part of this horrible process, this cycle that continues over and over again. Yeah, I'm gonna draw one more card. It's just a grace card. Yeah. So yeah, I think she's just sort of lost and speaking softly in the language of the fallen folk. And doesn't really know how to respond. She's so used to being the one that sacrifices that she didn't ever consider like the depth of loss and guilt and shame in losing someone else to that when they are the ones that step into that role. But it's a total of 12.
Okay. Is that with your skill bonus of?
Oh no, I forgot to add.
Yeah, that's 17. Because
yeah,
this
okay.
would be a spirit. What I'm specifically looking for is some knowledge that you're able to piece together, and I think your spirit's tradition gets you there, and also just being from Scavia and familiarity with the fallen folk. The Harvester of Fear is attracted to and sustained by fear, and everybody in this room has been through probably the trauma of their lives. And while your ability to tend to and care for this guardian has left him less afraid and a bit more steady, you realize pretty quickly, looking at the faces of adepts and guardians and the Flame Keeper, some of them are older and have probably seen some things in their lives, but some of them are young, and for them this is a life-defining moment and defined by fear. And you suddenly get the realization that if you leave them in this state he will return. And so now, Wing 023, the three of you who are in the room, and as soon as everybody can join us, you have to leave this place better than it is now. You have to find a way to make them less afraid before you head back to Pyre.
I grab that guardian's hand and kind of squeeze it. And I ask him, like, please go gather everyone. And I want to walk over to Crash and Smoke and just say, we need to give them hope. I can talk to them, you can help, but we need to get them as comfortable as possible, and just we need to help them process all of this. I don't want to make them forget that, though I imagine that we could. I still don't know the scope of our powers, but I don't think forgetting is the point. I think it's moving through the fear and pain and trauma to get somewhere better on the other side of it. Do you have any ideas, Crash?
Well, you're definitely the more of the orator, but I could support. I've dealt with trauma, and I have a lot of resolve. Literally, it's on my card. So I could support in that way.
Hi, Rivety.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Smoke, who's always been here.
Oh, look, who's been here the whole time? You just haven't seen me.
Yeah.
So Vale's dead.
I got her ash in the ash can. I made that joke too many times.
Sorry.
There was a fear bomb that was destabilized,
Oopsie.
and the most surefire way to handle it was for a Phoenix to sacrifice their spark, and Vale made that choice. And so now, between the three of you, you have to prevent fear from returning to the staff of this Eyrie, because the Harvester of Fear is attracted to and sustained by fear. And in this moment, the three of you who are remaining in the moment are deciding the best way to inspire the staff of Mourning View Eyrie. The Guardian, who I'll call Jonald, is currently going around and essentially gathering and making like a school circle around the three of you.
Sweet. I look over at Smoke and I kind of like gesture towards like one of the defining features of this room is like a giant pool of blood, right?
Yes, there is a giant pool of blood.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, can you please get rid of that? Thank you.
You want Smoke to get rid of the giant pool of blood?
Yes, please.
And there's no exact instruction on how you want me to do that? Oh boy. How
Oh,
Smoke
God.
can get rid of the pool of blood that is just there. Can I get like an update on the items in this room?
Yeah, I think I am a professional GM, and so therefore I do not have it at all.
I have it
can tell
written
you-
I
down.
do.
Go ahead, yes, please.
Tree
My
of pla-
players
oh.
are much better than I.
Tree of Pain, Layer of Fog, Discarded Chains, Pool of Blood, Empty Lanterns.
Okay. In
There's
terms
broken pictures
There are
too.
broken picture, yeah.
there's
Oh,
broken
damn
pictures
it.
as well.
Nice. I did forget about that. No.
This is why we take notes during roleplay.
All right.
Yeah.
So if there's no actual like clothing, Smoke is gonna look at you.
Vale's veil should still be there. I don't know about her clothes.
They're not gonna do that with Vale's veil. That's disrespectful. What they're gonna do is tell Rama to get over their fear, and get over themselves and their distaste for blood. Smoke looks up at Rama and they just say, I think you should just turn around.
It wasn't. she changes her orientation in the circle so that they're facing her away from the pool of blood.
I'll give a small bonus to that. So I think mechanically this is how it's going to work. Crash and Smoke, you can make a contribution to what Rama's about to do. Your contribution is don't look at the blood. Crash, what would your contribution to this be?
My contribution is being Rama's hype man in terms of like resolve. I have resolve. So if I see people not really like responding or really taking in what Rama's about to say, I'm gonna go to these people and like especially help them through. So I'm kind of like acutely focus in on certain people in the crowd as Rama does her thing.
Okay, that works. Okay, fantastic. Rama, what does this speech look like?
Once she gathers them close, yeah. Can I have a weird like mechanic? Can I use my lantern to light the other like lights around the room that aren't lit?
Yeah, I'd say you could do that.
Sweet. So I'm gonna do one of those like walk and talks and sort of like as she's speaking, she goes around and like brings light back into the room and tries to restore a sense of normalcy. Doesn't look at the pool of blood. Goes around it and is explaining that like trauma
and that's pretty effective, right?
Just like looks around it and then just stares at Smoke. And basically just gives a speech about the acknowledgement of fear and how fear is an important like learning tool, but you can't lose yourself to it and you can't let yourself be defined by it. And that even if, like Rama says, like, even if I could take it away from you, if I could remove this memory, this trauma from you, I wouldn't, because that would be a disservice to the memory of Vale, who gave one of her lives in order to protect this place, and all the countless people out there who will never know how close they were to destruction. But you have to hold that memory and know that there's always hope. There's always people who, in moments of crisis, will step up and do the brave thing and the right thing and the sacrificing thing. And you carry a seed of that with you. So let that be the legacy of the fear that you felt today, not the pain and not the trauma.
Give me a grace spread.
Hell yeah. All right. Okay. So I've got a 3/2/2 of normal cards for 7. I would like to use my savior card.
Yeah.
Because I'm deeply invoking Vale as the savior figure. No, it was after you. I love burying a lead. It's a terrible idea.
Fair enough.
So that's 8 plus diplomacy is 13. And I want to burn 2 sparks to get to 15.
Okay, great. That works, and there's also going to be a benefit for all that. So you're going to get them to 15. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you. My daughter has contributions to this.
Yeah, I respect it. Just strong bangs coming into the frame. We love it.
Yeah, that's all my wife. I'm going to give you a bonus 3 for how you articulated that in RP. So with that, your speech is truly inspiring, and I think you see confidence wash over their face, and you know that they kind of have an understanding based on what you're saying and based on what they've seen and based on what they felt, Honey Bear, that this probably isn't the last time that they're going to see the Harvester of Fear or something similar to it, whether it be the Bone Legion, the Chant, what have you. You know that something is going to. They're going to be prepared for next time, and they know what it takes. And one of them looks to you and says, and the dread can't go on forever.
We will stand against it and defeat it. There is no other way.
Right. And with that person goes over and takes the cloth banner and starts mopping up the blood, which they were always aware of, but now they have what they need. We're rocking. So if we're cool to go without a break, if we're cool to proceed, we can take a break if people need it. But if not, if we're all good to go, I'm going to pivot to the crucible, if that's all right. All right. Vale,
Yes, sir.
your hand cracked through the sphere, and you didn't feel anything. You didn't feel anything. But as your eyes closed from the impact you're about to brace, they open with the speed of a blink, and you're in the crucible again. And what was your mentor's name? I'm trying to remember because you and I did our
Ash.
session. Ash. Yes, Ash. That's right. Okay. So you hear Ash's voice. What does Ash's voice sound like? And I will deploy my 12th grade thespian skills to try to approximate it.
Ash is becoming marbleized, for lack of a better term. His skin is gray with darker gray streaks in it, and it's hard both to the look and to the touch. So the effect that has on his vocal cords is they're kind of rattly, almost like they're starting to harden too.
So you hear a voice say, "All right, kid. So you did the right thing. But what you got to tell me right now is, why'd you do it?" And before your character answers that question, Aaron, the player, has a choice to make. You died definitely because of a secret. There are secrets around this, so you could continue your path as a shrouded phoenix. You also died for duty. You had a sense of duty about doing what you needed to do. You could return with your second rank as an elemental phoenix. You also died to protect others. You could return with a second rank as a devoted phoenix. You are in a unique position in that all three of these are intellect-based schools. So you are maximizing your fortitude. So you have a choice. This is the way it works. Here's rank 1, and now you're rank 2. Whatever you choose, you're going to get to choose one card from either rank 1 or rank 2 of those three schools that I listed out for you. There are other benefits that you'll get, but that is the primary choice you have to make right now.
Elemental.
Fantastic. All right. So this is manifested by your character answering that question. How would you answer that question to satisfy a choice made of duty?
She says, I told you the story about how I died. I'll never know if I saved that child, and I only went back to save more people. You know exactly why I did it. I did it to save people, Ash.
You did what you had to do, and I understand that. And your crucible changes color to a butane blue. And the last thing you hear Ash say is, "You and I will see each other again. But for now, you got to spend some time with someone else." And out of this sea of infinite blue, you see a new mentor with the elemental symbol on their uniform. Tell me what you see. Tell me who you see.
I see a set of dark robes moving toward me, and as I'm trying to peer into the beneath the hood, I realize there's not really anything to see. It's a mass of swirling dark black smoke with a set of eyes at the center, and a mouth appears, but only when it's speaking to me.
Fire, thunder, or frost? Choose one.
Fire.
Okay. So it's a Balroggy smoke and ash kind of fire, like black clouds shifting, but as you know the clouds shift, you see elements of flame underneath it. And the flame says to you, "Hi. Glad to meet you. Kind of unexpected, not gonna lie, but it's good to. What's your name?"
Vale gets this look on her face because this is not anything like the dynamic she had with Ash. Ash was much more of a Socratic type of instructor, so she's just kind of like, Vale.
Oh, hey, Vale. Now I've got to come up with a name, and I don't have my sheet. Actually, you pick a name.
I was afraid you were going to say that I'm rotten at naming things.
Okay. So it's a race. Who gets there first? Thrill, as two people think in silence in front of an audience, broadcasting over international.
Blaze?
I was going to say kindling.
Kindling is more eccentric.
There you go. I'm kindling. Okay. Well, listen, here's the thing. You obviously know how to handle yourself, and you have a good sense of what's required, right? And clearly, you were drawn to the elements. You pursued a path of understanding fire and frost and thunder, as well as a sense of duty. And it kind of makes sense that a shrouded phoenix, such as yourself, would be interested in understanding a deeper appreciation for candle codes and for ash sorcery. So we're really pleased to have you. And for the time that you're here, you have some choices as to what you'd like to pursue. So if you wouldn't mind, and he reaches into the infinite nothingness of the crucible and pulls down a screen, and on that screen, fire projects into creating silhouettes, not dissimilar from what Rama does with her designs off of her talon, but this is much more blocky and much more clip art-ish of a description. So you've made the choice to be an elemental phoenix. Congratulations. What I'd like to present you with is a choice in how you would like your new elemental powers to be manifest. So, for instance, please look upon figure 1. You see a really blocky silhouette of you. And what proceeds is the worst safety training video you've ever encountered. But what this does is a really bad sense of humor, overwritten. He's a little nervous presenting some of the stuff. He hasn't talked to anyone in a while. But what you do see is, in terms of the first power you want to tap into, you have 4 choices. The first one is you fighting, but fighting in a way that actually has you see your fire turn blue and crystallize into something resembling frost. And what ends up happening is all of the attacks you normally make freeze the enemy, but also empower you. It manifests as cold to them, but fire inside. This is a combat style known as Frostbite. So you have the option of choosing a second combat style. This is a rank 2 card in the elemental. Your attack spreads are made with either intellect or grace. Your defense is made with grace, and your special ability on this style is that it deals cold damage. If you inflict at least 1 wound with this attack, you regain a spark. Every time you inflict 1 wound, you regain a spark. That's one option. Frostbite combat style. The other one, you see yourself again in combat, and a sort of faceless mob, like a putty, comes over and bonks you, and you see that they catch on fire from bonking you. This is a rank 2 talent called Shield of Flames. And what this does is, when you are struck by an attack, you can burn 2 sparks to give the attacker 1 burning condition. Burning condition is a dot, damage over time, so you actually ticks down damage on your opponent if they're burning. So that's your second option. Got it. Cool. The other one is that you see yourself attacking, and you see your ability to put somebody else on fire. You also see little fire silhouettes around you. and you're able to raise your hand and extinguish yourself. This is a rank 1 talent called Firestarter. And what this does is when you make a successful attack, you can burn a spark to add burning condition to that particular attack or attacker, to your target. And then during your turn, you can burn a spark to remove burning condition from yourself or an adjacent ally. Or you can make an intellect spread to extinguish mundane flames. So basically being able to start and stop fire on yourself, your allies at will. Oh, and this is cool. Then you see yourself, and then you see little silhouettes of your wing. A little tiny one for Smoke, a very tall one for Rama, and a kind of like vibrating one for Crash. And it shows you raising your hands and like your spark in the center of your chest like glow, and then each of your wingmates glow as well. And this is a rank 1 talent called Elemental Bond. And what this says is whenever you regain 1 or more sparks on your turn, each of your wingmates regains a spark. You always know how many sparks your wingmates have, and you sense it when a wingmate burns a spark no matter where they are. So those are your 4 choices. To recap, combat style, Frostbite. Rank 2 talent, Shield of Flames. Rank 1 talent, Firestarter. Rank 1 talent, Elemental Bond. And as you ponder this, any questions you have, feel free to ask Kindling.
I need to ask a meta question.
Go ahead.
The card that I take, does it replace the corresponding card already in my hand?
It
gets added to.
It gets added to. So these are not in your deck. These are in your lineup above your deck. So these are always active.
Right. Okay.
Combat style. If you this will be your second combat style. If you choose this card, you at the top of your turn you can toggle between that combat style and this one.
I'm going to take the combat style.
Got it. You gain Frostbite. I'll be dropping this off at your house shortly. As you choose Frostbite, you hear Kindling say, "An excellent choice. We understand you have a choice in Phoenix Schools, and we would like to take this time to appreciate your selection with us." And as he started to say his second sentence, you are gripped and dropped to your knees by the visions of the things you witnessed in the Eyrie. And it overtakes you, and it takes you a moment to recover. So in addition to that, you're going to be adding a new card to your deck. It is a 3 of Grace, and it is called Horrific Visions. This is a permanent addition to your deck. And what it says is when you use this card in attack or defense spread, both you and your opponent are exposed for the duration of the scene. This is representative of you dealing with the trauma that you experienced. The fear that chased you down into the crucible is now a part of you. You cannot shake these images. You are in no control of when it will come upon you. Just like it's a card in a deck. Whenever you draw this card, that's when it overtakes you. Now, there are things as you progress in rank to where you might have the opportunity to remove this card, but for now, this is part of your life. And lastly, second to lastly, you're going to get 1 additional card added to your deck. It is also a 3 of Grace, and it is called Heroic. And these reward cards will be in your deck for a certain amount of time, and when you use them, they exit your deck, and they can be rewarded to other players in your wing. By the time you hit rank 7, everybody will have had this card a few times, I'm sure. But what it says is, you may discard Heroic at any time to add 3 to an ally's spread. You may remove it from your deck to remove all exposed or vulnerable conditions affecting the entire wing. And remove this card from your deck when you die next. So when you hit rank 3, this will come out of your deck. Or if you want to remove it from your deck to activate the ability ahead of time, you're more than welcome to. So you'll be getting 2 new cards to your deck, and you will be getting a new combat style. So with all that in mind, we get to the final part of your rank 2 advancement. Oh.
Eddie, you're muted.
In addition to that, you'll be getting there's one other thing you'll be getting because there's a chart that I need to reference. Nope, it's back here. Stand by, y'all. You will also be getting I believe you're getting, and I need you to tell me the choice now. Yes, you'll also be getting a 5 card, a card with a value of 5. And with this, it is the primary school of your first class, which is an intellect. So you'll be getting a 5 of intellect to your deck added as well. And that's for everybody. It's for your primary suit. When you hit rank 2, you get a 5 of your primary suit, which in your case is intellect. After you recover your senses, Kindling walks up to you and goes, "Oh, are you okay?"
Vale shakes her head and kind of climbs to her feet, gathers herself together, gathers her composure, and then she looks at him and says, "No."
He kind of nods and goes, "Yeah, there's a lot of that going around. Listen, you're smart, and we could lie to you and say that it gets easier. It doesn't. It's you'll watch your friends die. You'll die. You'll watch mortals, maybe some you care about. You'll outlive them and their grandkids with any luck. And if you don't have that luck, that means the dread wins. So there's really no good options. But, if not you, if not me, who then?"
Them.
Yeah. Well, we got one little bit of business left. Here, and he reaches into the infinite nothingness of the crucible and opens a drawer. And in that drawer, not a drawer, like a sliding door, like a shelf or like a pantry situation. And in that, you see the silhouette of 6 different weapons. And he says, I'm sorry, 1 second.
I'm going to take this opportunity to jump in and say, I would kill or die for kindling.
Me
I
too.
love
Kindling's
Oh my
awesome.
God.
all my heart. I'm so sorry, Aaron. We're all going to take elemental dips so we can all meet kindling too. I would love to leave this as a special for you, but
That's fine.
Kindling's
Kindling's
so
awesome.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
I
I love all
love
the
the
stuff that you're
little-
picking through. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I love the little presentation he came with as well.
Right?
Here's our corporate training for you.
Heck yeah. Oh God. Just flashbacks I was sent.
Yeah, I had no intention to take in that direction, but it just
It was great.
yeah.
That was great.
Okay. Opens the door, and you see the silhouette of essentially 5 weapons. And he says to you, "So, every Phoenix has a talent just like you do." And he kind of points to, you have your needles in your hand, yeah.
Mhm.
And he says, "And yours certainly have served you well. But certain talons have gained enough power that they survived their phoenixes in their final life. All the phoenixes that were bound to the same flame as you, you have the ability now to tap into the power of these talons of antiquity. And so I can't tell you what to choose. It's a very personal decision. I'm just going to sort of excuse myself over here, but take your time and just get a feel. It's more art than science. And let me know when you're done." And he's gone. You see 6 objects, and I'm going to read them for you now. And I do this a little bit differently than it is in the book. All of these have amazing mechanical benefits. This is going to empower your talon. Your talon does not change appearance. You are essentially imbuing your existing talon with the power of these legendary talons of antiquity.
Okay.
Also, the rest of your wingmates will draw from the same pool. So after you choose yours, there will only be 5 remaining, and so on and so forth. This is the only rank where this happens currently as the game is designed. So as the first one to die, you get first choice. And because of that, I don't like to lay out all the exact mechanical things. I like to mercer it a little bit, and I like to give you narrative hooks that you can make your own decision on. That said, if you make a choice and you hate it, I will allow 1 mulligan. So the way this works is I'm going to describe the silhouette, and I'm going to tell you the color of this pool of energy shaped into an object. And that will be self-evident. I will allow you to approach 2 of them, upon which you will learn the name of the object. So between the silhouette of its original form, the color, and the name, you're going to make a choice of what to empower your Talon with. So going from left to right, you see a red fist weapon with claws pointing out as well as in, and it's red. Next to that, you see a telescope that's blue. Next to that, you see a green shield. Standard original Captain America, like not the circle, but the little mini kite shield. Next to that, you see a yellow mace on a chain, but there's fluidity in the length of the chain. It can extend or retract. Next to that, you see an all black cloak. And next to that, you see an all white staff. Now, seeing that, you can get close to 2 of these and learn its name.
The yellow mace and the black cloak.
You go to the yellow mace and you see the extension and the retraction of the chain, almost as if that's how it breathes. And you get the sense that range is not an issue for this item. Its name is Epitaph.
Yeah.
And you move next to the cloak. Its name is Dream Shadow. And you would feel pretty well enveloped in this cloak, which again would just be your things. But the abilities of this, you would feel like you would feel pretty well,
Just a very good weighted blanket.
Yeah, yes, exactly that. So Epitaph and Dream Shadow.
My inner goth can't pass up Epitaph.
Epitaph is fantastic. So you reach out and you touch the mace, and like licking a 9-volt, your body just kind of like surges with energy, and the energy of the mace floods through your arm and into your other hand and into your needles. And your needles are still the same. They still appear the same. Upon close inspection, they have a slight yellow glow. Not enough to give you away to an enemy, but just very subtle, something you can notice embedded in the Paraean steel. So congratulations, you now, the final edition of your power-up, you have the talent known as Epitaph imbued into yours. It is a 2-sided card that sits, again, in the top row, not as part of your deck. So it's always there and always present. It is a 2-sided card, and this is what it does. On side 1, it will say the following. During your turn, you may flip this card to become hidden. And once you flip it, the opposite side says you have +2 to all attacks and +4 if you are hidden. Flip it at the end of the scene. So you can become hidden at will. And in doing so, you will get a +4 to your first surprise attack. And then even after you lose the hidden condition, you have +2 to all of your attacks after that. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm an idiot. I just read you the wrong card.
Okay. Because I was going
Dream-
to say, that also just made me very scary.
Oh, that was Dream Shadow. My apologies. I literally read the wrong one. Okay, so here's Epitaph. This is the actual ability you have. Forget everything I just said. I'm so good, you guys. Okay, Epitaph.
We love you, Eddie.
I love you too. I'm great and occasionally dumb. So Epitaph, you can make attacks at range. All of your attacks you can do at range without burning a spark. So your the chain connecting your 2 needles, or the little cord connecting your 2 needles, is infinite. You can just be whipping that about and do whatever you want. When you make a melee attack with it, however, you would flip the card. And when you do flip the card, all of your attacks have +3. And they stay that way until the end of the scene. So, as a default, you can make ranged attacks at will, and then when you make a melee, flip it over, and then all of your attacks have +3.
Cool.
Cool. All right, that's Epitaph. And I gave away the ghost on Dream Shadow, but that's okay. That'll help somebody else's decision. So, that is the key to your advancement. This all happens between the moment you died and dawn the next day, where as soon as sunlight breaks over Pyre, you will emerge out of the Imperial Flame. For the remainder of your wing, however, they are still very much alive. And I'm going to do a little bit of fast travel. You settle everybody. You successfully instill a sense of confidence into the Eyrie. And you are able to rendezvous on time to the boats at the dock and make your way back to Pyre. We'll say it's a 1-day travel. Basically, you'll be getting there right at the same time that your wingmate is popping back out of the Eyrie. By the way, not that we have like crazy hardcore fans that like keep track of every detail, but the scale of the world, don't hold me to that. It's a game.
I'm keeping notes on this. I will make a video about
Fair
this
enough,
if
fair
it
enough.
doesn't hold up.
Fair enough. Subreddits and Twitter threads and yeah. So you make your way back. For Crash, Rama, and Smoke, you have this time to reflect and to talk. The time is really yours. What would you like to do on the boat ride back to the Grand Eyrie?
I think Rama is usually never seen without the canister of Vale's ash, like in her hand, and she's kind of just thinking about it and thinking a lot. We'll occasionally go and like bother Smoke, because that feels like a good thing to do.
Feels
So,
like a smart thing to do. Feels like a surefire way to get accidentally stabbed. But you know what?
wouldn't be the first time.
Wouldn't be the first time. I'm trying to think about. I think that Smoke actually doesn't like water. I think that they just are just not about it. It just feels like the opposite of everything that they are right now. And so it's almost like they're working on staying at the very center of the boat. And as close to the center as they can get, so there's as much boat on them on all sides. And then I think that they're just gonna like almost like as like a form of meditation, like sharpen their Bagnak. And so that's what they're gonna do. And you will get stabbed if you sneak up on them. So
Oh, I didn't say sneak. I also don't think Rama is particularly sneaky. She's
fair.
just bothersome. Just like
Okay, great.
does a lap, ducks down, you're still sharpening, comes back around, sees you're sharp. Okay, it seems pretty sharp at this point. What do you think is gonna pop up? In the middle of a very mundane boat ride, Smoke.
I do not know what lives below the surface.
Fish mostly.
Have you been down there before?
No.
I don't know
Have
how
you?
to swim.
Oh, okay. Well,
Never learned.
that's fair. Are you sure? I don't remember everything about what I was like when I was alive.
What was your life?
Uh,
Smoke isn't looking at you, I think, at this point. I think that they're just sharpening away.
yeah.
And it's conversation, anything to keep them up with that. And they like look up and like throw a wary glance at the water every now and then, but they're back to sharpening.
Yeah. And I don't think Rama she's just trying to do her best to like be around someone. I think she's just very sad and is forcing Smoke to help her.
I love
process that.
this. I love that Rama definitely needs another human being, and all you are given is an actual feral child who has no sense of empathy in that regard. And so Rama can just keep standing, and Smoke is just going to keep sharpening, but Smoke will engage in some conversation right
Yeah. And honestly, that's all Rama needs. Is just like, I feel like I'm doing something. This is probably good for both of us.
now. I do not know how to swim. I don't want to learn right now.
Okay. So are you like, if I ask if you're afraid of the water, are you going to stab me? And she takes a step back.
The knife sharpening stops, and Smoke just looks at you and says, I thought we were supposed to let go of all fear. And then returns back to sharpening.
All right.
And I think that's just the nature of the rest of the way there.
Yep.
It's just sharpening and meditation and staying away from the water. Big Smoke is like what? 8, 9, 10, something like that. Never learned how to swim.
I like it. Yeah.
Fair, totally fair. All right, so the water is fairly calm, small churn, no real waves. You get back to Pyre fairly late at night, and when you do, your squadron commander is there waiting for you, and he sees that there's only 3 of you, and he just sort of nods his head, and he says to you, fall back to your quarters. We'll chat in the morning. We'll do a full debrief and take some time. You don't have to rest, but take some time. And then he walks away. No, do you want to say something to him?
Actually, Smoke looks like they're going to say something to him. But if he walks, I actually like him walking off because they're going to turn to Rama and just be like, Vale? Vale should be here.
I mean, it took us like 100 or a couple hundred years to come out of the crucible the first time. We can give her a day.
So they're not part of our squadron anymore. They might not be part of our squadron anymore. You have to tell this child that a member of their family might not be coming back.
Yeah.
That's what's happening right now.
And yeah, Rama's definitely going to take a knee on this one and just say, Vale will be back. Maybe it takes some time. I don't know how long.
Maybe centuries? Or is she coming back right now?
I don't know how long it's going to be, but she is a part of our wing. She is one of us, and we will wait however long it takes and for however much time she needs. We will not press, but she is ours.
All right. And that seems to convince Smoke, so they're gonna not sleep tonight. They're gonna keep waiting for Vale like an overeager dog who's waiting for their owner to come home.
Oh.
So there you go.
So Godfrey shows up, your page,
Forgot about
and
him.
escorts you to your areas of back to your quarters. The evening is yours to either sleep or not sleep, or write or reflect or do whatever it is you wish. But at roughly 5:20 a.m., at 05:20, right before the sun starts to crest, the sconce that's in all of your bedrooms that has the red candle, what you know as the klaxon candle, ignites. And that means one thing, which is fall out and report to the briefing room. And you all make your way individually there. You essentially, Buckaroo Banzai, you walk, and then the hallway you're joined by another one of your wingmates, and another, and then the 3 of you are en route. And you get to the door of the briefing room, except the door is closed. And there's a guardian posted right outside. And he snaps to attention and simply holds out a single hand and says, "Just 1 second, Wing," and stands at attention. And let's see. Does anybody have any trait cards in their hands right now?
Ooh, I didn't redraw.
Everybody draw back up.
Yeah, I've got 2.
What do you got?
I've got charming and inspiring.
Okay. If you so it depends on what Rama wants to do. If Rama is very curious about why you're being told to wait, which is something you've never been told to do before, you could certainly discard that card and try to charm this this guardian. All right. That's got to be a gift. Okay, cool. So how do you charm the guardian?
Rama, like, I think there's something sort of weird and physics bendy about her staff, her like shepherd's crook, because now it's low enough that she can like rest her chin on it and just leans in and leans into this guy and goes, "You lit the candle. You were like, time to roll out. So let me in."
Ma'am, Phoneix, ma'am.
Mhm.
I did not light the candle. He's stiff as a board. He's at full parade rest, and his eyes are just like frantically darting back and forth
Mhm.
to you and
Don't
the
look around.
horizon.
Look at me.
No,
Stay right here on me.
I have orders, and I
Mhm.
didn't light the candle. Only an elemental can light the candles, and I'm a guy. And
Well, no one in my wing is an elemental. So who lit the candle? Stop looking around. Look at me. And
probably-
she opens her eyes just a little bit so some of that light comes out.
Okay.
You're gonna want to open the door now. I'm super bored, and I'm not even the mean one in the group.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Snaps to attention, opens the door. You enter, and you enter at the exact moment you hear your squadron commander say, "Not ready yet." And then they take notice of you as you walk in. There's a moment where they all recognize you're walking in. Your squadron commander is there. Honor, the Durant Marshal, is there. And somebody else is there who you do not recognize, who is not a Phoenix but a mortal. They are wearing, they are roughly 5'10", female presenting with short cropped hair in a suit, sitting in the background. Honor and your squadron commander on opposite ends of the ash table, where facsimiles of terrain and maps are presented magically. You've never seen a mortal in this room. You've seen mortals, obviously, that are guardians and adepts, but you've never seen anyone out of uniform essentially in this room. This is a little bit unusual. And as they see you, Honor just looks at you and looks at a spot in the ground and says, 023, fall in.
Let's not ready. As she walks into formation.
And your squadron commander, who's the elemental Phoenix. Gosh dang it, I'm forgetting my own character's name. Yes, you're. Oh golly, I'm going through my notes right now. My apologies, y'all. Okay, here we go. Lordy, where did I put it?
The elemental marshal?
Yeah, no, not the elemental, not Cinder. It's your
Okay.
squadron commander. I can't believe this is so embarrassing, y'all. No, but your squadron commander, whose name will come to me later. Man, I have. Oh no, here we go. So your squadron commander, the elemental Phoenix, Rupture. There we go. Rupture. He's your squadron commander. He's in charge of not just your wing, but the other 3 flights of wings that make up all of 4 Squadron. He is your squadron commander. He is standing there, clearly agitated, and as You say, ready for what? He just goes, and he walks away with his back to you, shaking his head in a somewhat defiant manner compared to everyone else. And from the shadows, who you did not see before, is Winter, the shrouded marshal, obscured by her standard fog of frozen crystal and ice. Her glimmering face appears right in yours, Rama, and says, "On that mission, you had no prior knowledge of the fear bond of a Dread Knight, yet your first move, your first action, was to calm them and soothe their fears, to observe their state and bring them reassurance. Why?"
Because that's what we're here to do. We are here to protect, and that is protecting people, which is engaging with them first. I trust my wingmates to handle a threat, and my priority is to protect a person, people.
Her eyes lock on you as her body starts to move, almost like the Haunted Mansion statues, where the position changes, but the eyes lock for a second, and then they, like the improv going downstairs person, just automatically lower down to Smoke's eye level, and says, "Little one, you scared that adept out of his mind, but knew to silence his mouth, to not scream. Why?"
I wanted him to hear what we had to say. And he would not be able to hear it over his screams.
Small smile. She raises back up and goes to Crash and says, "And you were so fast, and you changed your position so many times to gain new insight and new observation of the situation in front of you." And she doesn't wait for an answer for Crash before she walks backwards. And she looks, as she walks away in a direction kind of opposite from Rupture, she simply says to his direction, "They are ready." Forward. And Honor steps forward. Am I good? Am I frozen? Am I good?
Okay.
Okay. All right, cool. It blinked for a second.
Mm.
Honor steps forward and looks at you all and says, "There are two narratives around the origin of the Bone Legion." And as he says that, the ash table arises to make up the entire sunset coast of the northern part of the Grimwald. The first is that the Bone Legion, the undead army, which most people associate as the face of the Dread, that marched on the cities of the Sunset Shore and has devastated every army, every encounter, and taken no prisoners. The first theory is that it's a spell, or a series of spells controlled by a collective of necromancers, commanding this legion of random undead corpses for reasons we have yet to decipher. But this, and his eyes go to the civilian in the corner, is mortal thinking. This is empirical thinking. The second narrative is that the Bone Legion is made entirely of human soldiers who fought in the Imperial Civil War 230 years ago. And every action they're taking is simply an echo of that history. There has been evidence to suggest and disprove this theory, but nothing conclusively in either direction. Mrs. Jorgensen, and the civilian steps forward and says, Not everybody in the capital is distrustful of Dawn Command. Some of us recognize the necessity to pool our efforts. 2.5 days ago, we observed the main host of the Bone Legion, which have been slowly progressing up the Verdant Coast and into and towards the capital. We observed a squad of 5 bone chariots, and as they say that, the ash table resembles a chariot with some sort of device on the front, drawn by undead horses, with roughly 3 or 4 undead soldiers wearing Civil War attire in it. A squad of 5 bone chariots broke away from the main pack and proceeded northeast. Honor steps forward and says, 6 months ago, when Dawn Command fully reformed in force, one of our first efforts to do was to realize that we were not able to destroy the Bone Legion. No one has figured that out yet, but we were able to slow them down. First Squadron was able to destroy the terrain and harass Bone Legion to direct them towards a marshland, so that their only path towards the capital and the rest of the Empire would be dramatically slowed down. And it was working until 3 days ago, when this squad broke ranks for reasons unknown and is proceeding at a high rate of speed towards the Verdant Coast. We have an opportunity to observe, to compare notes with our allies in the Empire. 1 second. And determine which narrative around the origin of the Bone Legion is true. 023, this is your mission. You will drop into the Eyrie in the Fens, 40 miles outside of the city of Baroque, the last freestanding city in the Fens. You will proceed on foot to the Verdant Coast with your civilian advisor to observe the movement, behavior, and pattern of these bone chariots. You will determine, based on historical record, if this squad is behaving according to history, and if so, what will it and the main host of the Bone Legion do next? You will be at a disadvantage. You can observe from a distance, where you might not be able to learn quite as much, or you can make an approach to rendezvous with the bone chariots. Doing so will likely aggravate it. I will stress to you again, there is no known way to defeat them. You are to not engage the bone chariots in direct combat. 1, doing so will alter its behavior pattern. 2, you will lose. Any questions?
I will say I am side-eyeing Smoke during all of that.
Smoke does seem a little distraught about these orders. But as a so they're headed toward the Verdant Coast. Just like as general knowledge of this world, would Smoke know like what the population of like the Verdant Coast is? Like, are there heavily populated cities around there? Like, are we about to be in a situation where these bone armies are going towards a bunch of civilians and we're not going to be able to stop them because of orders? This is what Smoke wants to avoid. So, but before we get to that, Smoke would like to know, or at least I, the player, would like to know, would Smoke know what the, population density of that part of this country is?
I'm going to give you what you know based on memory.
Great.
So the Fens is marshland, by and large, although there are regions of the Fens that, have beautiful plains as well as desert, some coastal regions. It's heavily vegetated.
Mhm.
What you remember of Baroque was that it's one of the more larger cities. Its proximity to Alona made it a bit more cosmopolitan.
Mhm.
The best way I could describe it was probably French occupied Vietnam circa 1920. In the sense that it had traditions of Alonian colonization, but adapted to the land with some of the customs, cultures,
Cool.
materials, cuisine associated with that region. The further east you go into the fens, the more fens it becomes. And I'll
Mhm.
leave it to you in relative relation to that, where your character fit into all this, where your character's origination did.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the further east you go, the further more away from traditional societal norms. Um, and I say that based on, purely a Western, and literally
Yeah.
Alona is west to it, a Western perspective on it.
And
And
can you repeat the name of the city one more time? I'm so sorry.
Baroque,
Baroque. Oh, like Baroque, like the
Baroch.
art movement.
Kinda Baroch. Although I'll Revity being from the fence, I'll allow you to adjust the spelling, pronunciation of it,
Oh,
however you may see fit. If
Baroque.
you want to throw some apostrophes in there or some Q's or whatever, like
Some umlaut.
totally fine. Some
Um,
umlauts, whatever you want to do.
Anyway, okay, great. Smoke takes this in, and looks to the commander. Not the. It's the commander, not
Yeah.
Rapture speaking to us. It is. I'm speaking to. Who am I speaking to right now?
So there's Honor,
Honor.
who's
Is this who I'm
the
looking for?
Durant Marshal.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's the Durant Marshal. He writes most of the missions.
So Smoke turns to Honor and says, "And if Baroque is in danger, are we to still just observe?"
Currently, the trajectory of the squad of Bone Chariots is not towards Baroque. It is up towards the Verdant Coast, but it seems to be on a trajectory that passes by. The immediate historical records of the Imperial armies of the Civil War show no engagement, show no movement, nothing that made the annals of history. Part of your challenge will be, with your advisors and with the books, texts, and historical records at the Eyrie you will be dropping into, stand by for daughter, that you'll be dropping into, you are to compare all available material and try to ascertain their movements. How you structure this and how you execute on the objective is entirely your decision. Some of you may have to stay behind from a point of observation. Some of you may have to directly engage. You'll have to assess the situation as best as you can. Oh my goodness. You have to assess the situation as best as you can once you are in the field.
And we'll pray that they stay on their trajectory and we only have to observe. And Smoke's hoping because Smoke does not know if they will be able to do anything other than observe, but Smoke's hoping. Let us pray. And that's all the questions that they have.
I suppose I should ask, you're asking us to do this without our wingmate Vale?
Absolutely not. You will need her more than ever. You drop in 1 hour, she returns in 30 minutes.
Good.
Should one of you perish in the field, you will have the ability to reemerge here or at any Eyrie with an active hearth. Your orders, should you perish in combat, will be to reappear at the Baroque Eyrie.
Noted.
The Eyrie is known as Evergreen. The rest of your briefing will happen in the field. As for her, and he points to the civilian in the suit, you have never met her. You do not know her name. This mission never existed, nor will it ever. and her eyes are on honor, unbreaking.
Oh God, I want to know what all of that's about. She
Give me a
doesn't
grace
say
check.
any. Oh yeah,
Give me a
she
grace
doesn't
check.
say any of that out loud, but her curiosity is piqued.
Give
Oh
me
no,
a
I have
grace check.
no grace cards. Dang it!
What are
No,
your skills?
I've got diplomacy, healing spirits and tradition.
Diplomacy, baby.
Yeah. Okay. I can use grace, but it's still a grace check. Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
use
Well,
intellect.
no. If it's one of your proficiency is grace or intellect.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right.
Actually, and I would say this is more of an intellect check because you're recalling specific information around it. So at this point, though, it's whatever.
Yeah, it's the same. It's not amazing. So I've got a 3, a 2, and a 2 for 7 plus diplomacy is 12.
12. Okay. Plus diplomacy is 12. Yeah, okay, here's what I'll say. The suit is very well manufactured. Think Desire from the Endless. Only kind of less sexy. And oh, Honey Bear, it's okay. Shh, shh, shh. And what you're seeing is, I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second.
You're good. I just want to know what the drama is.
I think Smoke, being a child, doesn't really get in the whole like silent looks between adults thing. And so this is just going over their head. They're like, okay, let's go. Vale's gonna be here in 30 minutes. Let's go.
Rama doesn't need to eat, but she is devouring this tension.
So, diplomacy. Here's what you know. The empire is structured in a very unique way. There is an emperor. The current emperor is young. And the four it's essentially a parliament made up of the 4 main regions of the Delayan Empire. The regions being Scavia to the north, the Grimwall to the south, Alona to the east, of which the Fens are a part of, and the Windari Isles, which, by the way, completely overtaken by the Dread, like completely overrun by the Bone Legion. So each of those have senators, essentially, or ministers, I should say. Ministers is the proper word. Each of them have ministers, and of those ministers, they elect a speaker. The suit that you're seeing, she's not the speaker, but you can definitely tell she has a pin that seems to be indicative of someone who advises the speaker. And by their overall appearance, you could tell it is the speaker of Alona, which is again where the capital is seated. So you know that that Alona is made up of what's called the Talu houses. There's different houses that have sort of different specialties. Some of them deal in trade. Some of them deal in agriculture. Some of them deal in shadows and spycraft. The current speaker for Alona, it's rumored her family has connections to the underworld, although there is some dispute around that. So that may be contributing to some of the tension of what you're seeing. You very much get the sense this is a relationship of convenience as opposed to, real, statecraft and nation building. It's really about they don't have high opinions of each other, it seems, or at least Honor does not have high opinions of where she's from.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So noted.
Yeah. So, anything else anybody want to do? Any other questions? The entire time, Rupture has been in the background, just sort of intentionally still. Not trying to betray what he's feeling in any real way.
Once again, Rama wants to pry, but abstains. We should go.
As far as by the way, in chat, Arniti just said the world is dying, but we're still fighting over politics. Yeah. So you make your way out of the mission room in towards the larger flame chamber, and out almost as an instant, dawn breaks, sun starts to streak across. the flame chamber in front of the Imperial Flame, and from that, dropping hard and fast, is Vale. Now, Vale, you are still referred to as the Shrouded Vale. That is your core rank. That is central to your identity. That will not change. However, with each new death and rebirth, your appearance does shift, especially Shrouded. A Shrouded can change their appearance, but your core default appearance, now is the time. If there's new additions, if there's new elements to your appearance, something that skews a bit more supernatural than mortal, now would be the time to divine for your wing one additional characteristic of your character's appearance.
So she's still, if you remember, she had skin that looked like gold fabric. Her skin still looks like gold fabric, but instead of it being smooth, unbroken fabric, it almost looks like someone stitched her and split apart the stitches a little bit to expose the seam. And through the seam, you can see glowing red, almost like coals or lava.
Infinite snaps. That's awesome. Okay, cool.
So dope. Ah.
So you see your wing sees you.
Did I hand off my canister of ash?
Oh
at
yeah,
any
yeah.
point?
That they, when you did your debrief in the sort of the midnight
Sweet.
hours, all that was required. All your requisition was done. But yeah.
Then the first thing I do when Vale comes back through is I hold up the empty one and kind of just shake it.
Okay, that actually makes Vale start laughing.
I think this is the first time you've had a moment of actual laughter.
This
As a
would be
wing.
this would be the first time Vale's definitely laughed.
Aww. Smoke is doing a once around of them, like the way your dog will walk around you. Check out the perimeter. So that's what Smoke's doing, just in a very casual way.
Okay, so Vale's just like looking like, I guess they're happy I'm back.
Mm-hmm. If you follow it too much, you're gonna get nauseous.
Does that happen to us?
Oh my god, I have no idea.
I don't want to test it.
Huh.
You know what I do want? Food. Are we supposed to be somewhere?
Oh, yeah. We've got to
The answer is
go.
yes, isn't.
Yeah.
No food?
You're back right
30
in
minutes.
time. Uh-huh.
Wait, you said 30 minutes?
We have 30 minutes.
So I have 30 minutes to find food.
We don't have to eat. I think Rama's just anal retentive and doesn't like being late for stuff.
I didn't say I had to eat. I didn't say I was hungry. I said I wanted food. I just left the crucible.
All right, that's fair.
Come on, just some bread.
Okay. But only if I get to ask you about all the stuff you did in the crucible.
I have to tell you about the strangest mentor I had.
Yes, gossip. This is what feeds me. And she immediately follows you to go find bread.
Yeah, I'm looking for wherever the kitchens are because I'm nicking bread.
We'll make some bread real quick.
The kitchens are a ways away.
Because you have 30 minutes.
Can I make it back there and back in half an hour?
You can
What
get
if
there.
we send Crash to go get it because she goes so fast?
Oh, I
Crash.
didn't know that.
Crash brings back some rolls, some trying to think of like food you can eat. Like God, what did I actually eat when I was
Pudding,
yeah,
just like a
yeah,
snack pack.
little cups, like those little little peel packs of like cheese and crackers and little mini Lunchables, like whatever the delay-in version of a Lunchable is. It's not great, but it's like, all right, you got that. You each get equipped with your drop cord. You stand up on the plank as usual, and you're able to you get hooked up. It feels familiar. You feel pretty good about this. As that happens, as you're in line waiting for the clearance candle to give you the go ahead to jump, you immediately, just as you're getting ready to jump, Rupture makes his way up to the gangplank and just looks at you all and says, "The mission should go smoothly. You will be interfacing with a Dol Talu advisor and historian when you land. They are a resource for you. They are there to tell you things. You are not to tell them things.
You think they want to know how we work?
The OPSEC around this mission is not ideal.
How likely are we to be captured?
Not likely.
Not likely because we have the option to kill ourselves and come back, or not likely because the mortals wouldn't try it?
You're dropping into an area that we control. You will have 3 full platoons of guardians, about 15 adepts who are proficient in ashcraft. You will be well situated and well garrisoned. There's a stable there. If you need to pursue the bone chariots by horse, you will have that option. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about what a Talu house will learn, or more importantly, is seeking to learn while you're there. Stay focused on the objective. Observe what you can. Don't overextend. Don't get captured. Come back safe.
Yes, sir.
He walks off. The red candle ignites. You each make your jump. You drop. You feel the familiar burn, the wind. But as you drop, you see different things this time. Much like the dream you had in our session 0, one of you sees snow. One of you hears thunder. One of you feels fire, not the fire of the flame, but a different kind of fire. And you hear a voice that says, Phase 1 failure. Commence Phase 2 of Operation Emberfall. And that's where we'll stop for tonight.
No, I'm so
Wait,
sorry.
wait.
I have questions. No.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
We're gonna walk back just like a couple seconds and let's just unpack that really quick. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. I assumed that voice was for us the first time.
Yeah. Please, I will give you all my cards. I want to know what happened.
I'll
Have a
respond to that
whole
by
deck.
just simply saying you're going to need those cards.
No, stop.
Also, I can say this now because I'll be losing this because I died. But I had last stand
Yes.
in my hand when I first drew up for the night. So Vale was dying tonight. It was happening.
How dare?
How dare? How dare? Yeah, no. Okay, so yeah, I mean, as obviously Operation Emberfall is not a phrase that is summarized in one mission. You're getting glimpses of an overarching arc. Don't get too hung up on that. We'll resolve that a little bit in next session as usual.
Edward.
Congratulations to Vale for being the first one to die. Congratulations on a good death. Any death done in sacrifice is the heart of this game. Beyond that, I will be dropping off new cards for not just for you, Vale, but for the rest of the wing. The rest of the wing is going to be getting a small stack of what's called affliction cards.
Ooh.
These are bad. When bad things happen, you will be getting affliction cards added to your deck. When you draw them in a hand, not something good happens, as well as just the fact that it's a wasted card. So we'll be getting those, and we'll be doing that. And I'm super excited that we're starting to get glimpses of the larger story at play. Thank you, everybody, for a fantastic session. A little bit of a change of pace. Like I said in the pregame, kind of like a two episodes per mission, with a little bit of time in between to unpack some of the things that happened. So, with all that said, we'll see you here again next week at the same time for another episode of Operation Emberfall. Until then, Dawn Command, fall out.